Hey, 4xe fans, I just jumped in my Jeep and I've got something going on that I wanted to share with you. I have joined the rather exclusive club that you may have heard of. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put my foot on the brake, I'm going to hit the start button, and the vehicle is going to go through its normal startup cycle. And oh, what was that? The engine started right away. Now, in my screen where it says messages, and in mine it's number 9, it may be other screens in your Jeep, but you will see what I now have is fuel oil refresh mode in progress, engine running. And if you aren't familiar with this is something that people in the 4xe community see. And there is a little bit of an issue with this that I'm going to explain here in a second, but I first want to explain the screens. If you go here on your buttons, a lot of people assume their vehicle is in form when there's any number of reasons why the engine will start and run periodically. But if you go down through your screens, and your screen number might not match mine, mine says messages there. That's the screen you want to look for to see if you're in fuel oil refresh mode. And that message will actually pop up when Form first starts, and you might not even catch it. It might just flash on. In fact, when it came on yesterday, I didn't even catch it at first until I went in and looked at my messages and saw that it was. Now, if you don't have the advanced safety group and the the little box up here on your thing, you won't have that screen number 4, that driver assist. So your numbers may be different from mine, but just scroll down through there until you find the one that says messages. Now, you may be asking, why am I in form and how do I know what it is? So I've actually gone a really long time in my Jeep, and I have only seen form once, and it was stupid stinking cold out. And I think that got tied up in that electric mode, temporarily unavailable stuff. And I was doing some driving in hybrid mode, and I was having some starts and stops that were going on that I think led to my form back then, but it cleared after a very short amount of driving. It wasn't a big deal. This is the first time that I've actually experienced form, and I have the first Wrangler 4xe in the country, other than the test mules, the engineering leases that were going on in the early days before the actual release. And so I've had mine since March 31st of 2021, and I've never had it. And I've always operated on the theory that if you're very binary with your engine use, then you will, and what I mean by that is you're either using a lot of electric mode, or when it runs, you really run it. You don't do a lot of short engine runs. And the theory I have operated on from the beginning, that if you leave the vehicle in hybrid mode for your daily driving, and you're starting and stopping and starting and stopping, and you see your tachometer come on and go back down to 0, and you're going back and forth, that's causing a lot of short engine runs in the vehicle. And that's in a direct injection engine, that's problematic, because you're getting oil mixed in, or you're getting fuel mixed in with your oil, and the system doesn't have enough time to burn that off. And so, since I'm part of the B9A recall, I have not been charging my 4xe, and I have been just doing my daily driving like normal, partly to see if this happens. I wanted to see if my daily driving, I kind of live out in the country a little bit, but I do a lot of start and stop driving. And if you watch your tach, you can watch as you're approaching a stop sign, as you're decelerating. It doesn't matter if you have max regen on or off. It doesn't come into play in any way, shape, or form. It's just when you start that deceleration process, either by hitting the brake pedal or by max regen kicking in, it's going to shut off the engine, and then you take off from that stop sign and the engine starts up. And then if you go a quarter mile, hit another stop sign, decelerate, the engine shuts off. Next time you take off from that stop sign, the engine kicks back on. And over and over and over again, you can have these short engine run cycles. I've even seen mine, I can just be driving along at 45 mile an hour, and the engine says, hey, we're in a low demand cycle here. I'm just going to turn off. And it'll turn off for 1/10 of a mile and then turn back on. And I've always felt that's a problematic thing in cold weather, because cold weather exacerbates the enrichment of the fuel supply in the direct injection engine. It adds a little bit more fuel to make sure you get a good engine start. And also the cold weather contributes to that, because it can't get warm enough to burn that off if you're not running that engine in a long cycle. So I've actually been doing an intentional experiment to see if mine would go into form now that I'm not charging and driving every day. And sure enough, first time, I went through 2 tanks of gas. Now, it's not my daily driver, so that's over the course of several weeks. I have a company vehicle that I'm driving right now, so I'm not driving this every day. But I kind of proved my theory that if your engine is starting and stopping a lot in the cold weather. I live in Southwest Ohio. It's like 36 degrees right now. I think it was 30 this morning. If you're in a cold weather environment and you have that engine starting and stopping a lot, this is the primary reason why I have always felt we should be very binary with our use, and use electric mode if you can, but if that engine starts, make sure it stays on. And I'm going to show you one of the little tips and tricks that you can employ that I haven't been employing intentionally, just to see what would happen. So I'm not going to do this moving, I'm going to do this sitting still, but if you pull your regular 4xe into drive and knock it over to the left, you can put it into a manual shifting mode. When you do that, the engine will not shut off. It will hold it turned on. It will not do those, when you're decelerating and everything, it won't shut the engine off. And you can also go into your hybrid screens and use the eSave options and use the sub option of battery charge. This setting only applies if you put the vehicle in eSave. And if you put it in battery charge, the engine will not shut off. If you put it in battery save, it'll still shut off when you come to those deceleration moments or downhills or whatever. But if you keep it in battery charge, it will keep the engine running. The downside to that is it uses more gas because you're demanding more of the system. You're asking it to not only push this big brick through the wind, but you're also asking it to charge the battery. And being part of the B9A recall right now, they don't want us charging the battery anyway. So I don't see that as an option that I want to go with. I, in the past, have used the manual shift. Now, you don't want to do this. You want to do this with some respect and understanding of how the system works. The first time your engine starts up, it goes through warm-up cycle. So if you're running down the road and you just yank it over into that, you're going to bypass that warm-up cycle. So one way to avoid that, and what it does is it automatically loads the engine. There's a clutch that stays open between the transmission and the engine. This is what I'm getting at. Sorry, I'm being random on here. But if you just yank it over, the engine's going to start and it's immediately going to close that clutch, and that is going to automatically load a cold engine. So you want to understand that when you use that, there are some little asterisks, little footnotes you want to understand if you want to employ this. But if I'm in a situation where I want that engine to warm up and stay on, you can pull it over and put it right back. It'll go through its warm up cycle, and you will see its propulsion during that time is coming from the P2 motor generator that's in the transmission, and the engine will just be running at a fixed RPM. After that time, you can pull it back over and you can shift manually. Or what I have done in the past is, as I'm approaching a stop sign or a stoplight or whatever, I'll just pull it over as I'm driving, and you will see on the screen it changes the little D down there. It changes it to manual, and you can see what gear you're in, if you're using that. But if I'm approaching a stoplight or a stop sign or whatever, I'll pull it over. That keeps the engine from shutting off, which does impact efficiency a little bit. We're going to lose a little bit of efficiency during that. But in a situation like this, where I'm not charging the vehicle, where I'm stuck in this recall scenario waiting on the fix for that, the little bit of added engine run isn't going to cause that much efficiency loss. And so what I could have been doing over the past few weeks is I could have been doing that more, and I think it would have kept the engine running. Now, the end result is basically the same. I'm running the engine all the time. So just because I've gone into fuel oil refresh mode isn't really changing the end result of this, because of the B9A recall and because I'm not charging and I'm running in hybrid mode all the time. Basically it doesn't really matter at this point. But if I were hoping to use my electric mode every day and couldn't because of fuel oil refresh mode, that's where it gets frustrating for owners. But I think as owners, we need to understand we need to do some things, especially when it gets cold, to avoid those short engine runs as best we can, whatever we can do. But it also raises the question for me, and I've had this question that I've kind of kept to myself for a long time. That question is a direct injection engine the right decision for the 4xe? Given that this is an issue, and given that the fuel oil refresh mode had to be programmed in to protect this engine, because what it's doing is protecting the engine, you know, and right now the software believes I have a lot of fuel in my oil and it hasn't burned off yet. And I haven't met the criteria, even though I went for a rather long drive last night. My wife and I went to the other side of Dayton and came back, and still didn't meet that criteria. And I was trying to keep the temperature up, but it was pretty cold, and I was on the highway, so I wasn't able to get the temperature up to where I thought it should be. So, you know, I'm going to see what it does over the next couple days. But it does make me question, is a direct injection engine the right decision for the 4xe? Was that a mistake in the creation of this machine? You know, as playing armchair quarterback, I'm no engineer, I'm no propulsion expert, I don't know any of that. But given some of the other options that are out there, it does make you wonder if this whole thing could have been avoided with a different engine selection. So I don't know, but I just wanted to share some of these thoughts and some things you can look for if you are trying to figure out what level of form you're in, because there are 3 steps to that. There's the gas timer on the gas tank, the engine timer, it just needs to run periodically, and the oil dilution algorithm. And you can go over to Tyler's YouTube channel. I'll put a link here somewhere so you can see that, where he's done some cool work of digging in and figuring out where those PIDs are and what it looks like. And right now, mine, I'll put it on the screen, mine is reading false, which is the indicator. I think it's ESS, I forget what it's called, burn off something. I'm trying to do it from memory, I just looked at it, but it'll be in the picture here. You can see that when that goes false, that's your step 3 of form, which is your oil dilution indicator. And mine says true before I start the engine, then it goes false immediately upon engine start or system start, and then it immediately starts the engine. So that's how I know what step of form I'm in. And if you've ever experienced these situations and don't quite understand all the background and the workings, certainly it would have been nice if Jeep would have included some other messages, because there are several things that can cause form, and you might not know which step you're in. I've also had a lot of conversations with people who, in the cold, instead of the screen, and I've got a video about this, instead of the screen reading electric mode temporarily unavailable at like around 5 degrees Fahrenheit, -15 Celsius, it displays form for some reason. And then people are spending time trying to clear form when they might not actually be in a real form scenario, but for some reason the system thinks they're in form. So that's a whole other thing. I don't know how. A lot of us would have to get together and compare a lot of notes and a lot of PIDs to bear that theory out, but there have been some other issues with that. So that's the video. I'm getting a little long-winded, and thanks for watching this to the end of this, and feel excited. I get to be a part of the Forum Club, and I've never really experienced that, so we're going to see how this goes over the next a few days to a week. My engine oil is sitting at what was it at? It's sitting at 74%, which since the recall has been, notification went out, I haven't been charging, so my oil life is going down faster than what it was. I'm at 53,595 miles, and I had my last oil change at around 50,000 miles. So we'll see which I get to first. If I get to 60,000, which I'm doing the every 10,000 miles, since I do so many electric miles, I don't have to change my oil before the 10,000 mile interval, and that's per the manual. But we'll see how that goes. It may get down quicker than 60,000 miles this time around. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Hope this video provides some good information and isn't too random and rambling to draw out the good information that you might be looking for. Thanks for watching.